from day to day. Rhyme or reason, it's hard to say. Running these rooms, a young man's test. Silver eagle, I 9 requests. Best of plans they could not see. The way things they would really be. Oh, how I wish you let somebody love you under the sky. Trembling hands, a torn page, damage done in a worn out place. What can you say is worth the fight? Stop giving your heart away. You know I want 'em, but I just can't stay. Stop giving your heart away. Let the devil gets lost sometimes, caught in a well and through the light.
Hey, James.
Contreras.
How you doing? How you doing there?
It's exciting.
Excellent. Thanks for meeting up here.
Absolutely. Oh my God. One of the first songs, Cruz, that I have to tell you that I heard when I decided to move to Nashville was 10 years from the Black Lillies
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Where did you move from?
from Miami.
That's right. You told me that.
But yeah, I mean, step right up and face the music alone. I mean, I had just gone through a divorce. It was a magical moment, Cruz,
Oof.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
Had me right
that's a
here,
tough
man.
one. It'll do that. Yeah.
But, I tuned in the other day. I'm on YouTube, Cruz, and Apple Music and, starting all your music and thinking about you. And I saw this video of
These are my reading glasses, by the way. I lost my reading glasses. That's why I'm wearing these.
Well, listen, I mean, you could be like Bono or something. I don't know.
Okay. There you go. I can see this way too.
But yeah, Cruz, I was watching YouTube and I saw this video of Third Place. I watched it, and then I saw you recently at Americana Fest. Just by the way, kill the set. People's jaws were on the floor, and it made my head spin. And where I realized, do you think people realize, Cruz, how good you are at keys and piano?
I don't think so. I'm hoping to change that with this new record, though. Piano's my first instrument, and I grew up as a kid playing classical and jazz. And then I got into bluegrass and country music with my brother who played the fiddle. So in my 20s, I had a band and I played mandolin. And with the Black Lillies, I primarily played acoustic guitar and sang. So a lot of people are surprised when I sit down at the piano and realize that's my the instrument that I'm the most proficient on.
Yeah. I mean, you can tell. I mean, you can tell it's just like part of your soul. It just comes from your soul out. It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
And so, okay, Cruz, you love Guns N' Roses, you love Aerosmith, but it was that progressive bluegrass band, Strength in Numbers, that really got you going, right?
Exactly. That was kind of a transition. So I mentioned I have a brother. His name's Billy, and he was a fiddle prodigy, just incredibly talented from a young age, and he started winning these fiddle contests. My parents bought me a guitar to back him up. And at that point, I was just listening to pop radio and rock radio and buying cassettes and records and maybe CDs at that point. And somebody gave us a cassette with some old time fiddle music on it. And then it turned into, on one side and on the other side was that record, Strength in Numbers. And it just stopped me dead in my tracks. When I heard those instruments and the tones and the rhythms and the melodies, I'd never heard anything like that. And it hooked me. So what I did was, I was like, okay, who's on this record? And it was Jerry Douglas and Sam Bush and Edgar Meyer, and I'm trying to remember, was Russ Barenberg the guitar player maybe? It was an Bela Fleck, all-star lineup.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like starting the inquiry into a family tree. And I was like, well, this guy, what instrument does he play? And where is he from? And what are his bands? And what, you know what I mean? It just started this fascination with acoustic music and bluegrass, world music, you name it. And that record was it. That was really the moment. And it did. I remember in my mind thinking like, the way I feel when I listen to Guns N' Roses and it gets me really focused and pumped up, I was like, this is so confusing because this music is so different, but it's still like equally compelling.
Yeah. Unbelievable. I mean, the passion that you talk about it is just mind blowing, Cruz. And okay, so you went to high school here in Franklin, but like hearing you about the music, were you always like consumed by music the way that you're talking to us right now? You know, like when you were in biology class, were you thinking about like chords and stuff? You know, that's what I envisioned.
Absolutely. It got to the point in high school pretty quick where my teachers they just let me go. I'd have my stack of like theory books and music, and they'd just be like, go, you got something else to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And your family, of course, your dad, musician, not professional, but like your family was like accepting of this? Because I know like police also are very conservative a little bit with the studies sometimes.
Yeah. So in the Contreras family, which was from Houston, Texas, it was very expected that people would study some, like what I always heard just called classical arts, very traditional classical arts and education, and especially piano. Classical piano was very much part of that. So that was accepted, expected. And then my house was very musical, especially because of my brother and because of his connections in the music industry. We would have picking parties at our house and musicians were over at the house. And it just became, I not only got hooked on the music itself, but I got hooked on the culture and the people that were so alive and vibrant.
Yeah.
It was very different than a classroom. It was the opposite. It was the polar opposite from studying anything in a classroom, in a sterile classroom where you're like, well, why am I doing this? I don't even know why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I'm doing it for just a grade. Okay. And my freshman year of high school, I did pretty well. I had probably making straight A's. And then I joined a country band. It was like an all kids band in Nashville. And I would equate it with kind of like a New Kids on the Block of country music.
I mean, you are
more like,
I mean, for my audio audience that's not seeing you, you know, you do have like a good looking, representative.
I could, yeah. And I mean, I was in high school then. So I was recruited as the keyboard player for this band. And we went and played a dance hall on a Sunday night. And it's kind of ridiculous when I look back on it because it's not like it was some big career opportunity. It was just an experience I fell in love with. And I went back to school Monday and I told my buddy, I was like, I don't have to do my homework anymore. I know what I'm going to do. Yeah. And I went from straight A's to straight F's. And my dad was not having it. He made me pay $200 for every class I failed. We readjusted. Instead of taking like AP and honors classes, I took just kind of regular advanced.
That's right.
And I made straight A's again. But my academics kind of took a backseat to my pursuit of music in those years. And then I got a scholarship to Blair School of Music, Vanderbilt's music school. And I just, I knew that's what I wanted to do.
Wow. Love it. Love that story, Cruz. And I mean, we're all over the place, but I could talk to you for 17 hours and we just...
Yeah.
But, Cosmico, man, what an album. What an album, Cruz. Oh my God. All weekend listening to it, like pretty much on repeat. And
Awesome.
And so much to talk about it with it, but let me first ask you about a couple friends of our show, good friends, Ethan Ballibger, Megan McCormick, that are comically underrated in my opinion. But how is it working with these two? And the reason I ask is because if you know these people, they're kind of quiet. They're not bodacious, like step into a room and just like take over. They do it
not at all
through their art.
They are quiet and they're incredibly thoughtful, particular, purposeful individuals. And that shows through in their music and their craft as guitar players. I call them tone junkies. They're obsessed with their craft, their instrument, their pedal boards, their system, what they create. And it's a reason why they get hired to do really high level gigs with great artists, because when they show up, they're performing at a high level and they make everybody sound better and they create confidence. And in my case, I knew both of them personally from different avenues. Ethan's from Tennessee, and his parents had a band called the Cluster Pluckers based out of Cookeville. And me and my brother Billy would go to picking parties at their house. So I met Ethan when he was a little kid. And the first time I met him, he came downstairs and played the piano with a bunch of pickers. And I was like, wow, that little kid's really good. And he's like 9 years old or something. and then I had a string band in my 20s, Robinella, the CCStringband, which he was familiar with, and he played with Missy Rain. So we were in that bluegrass, Tennessee country music world all those years. We were just aware of each other and kind of knew each other. And then with Megan is originally from Idaho by way of Alaska, by way of ETSU, East Tennessee State University, and they have a bluegrass program there. And then she joined up with a band called the Everybody Fields. And if you haven't heard their music,
Fantastic.
go listen to it. They're based out of Johnson City, and that's Sam Quinn and Jill Andrews. And then, so I met Megan because of the Everybody Fields initially and Knoxville connections. And same thing, we just were in the same music community world, and we started to nurture a friendship throughout the years. And in 2019, we just completely by chance crossed paths one day up in Bristol, Virginia. She was on the way to a gig. I was playing a gig that I had because of her. And we all got to hang out for a night out on this lake, out on a houseboat, and just kind of have an all-night reconnection get together. Saw the sun come up, and in the morning we were just like, well, this thing we keep talking about, we've been talking about it a long time. It's like, it's time to do it. Like, I'm good. Are you ready? And I just felt this conviction, literally like a lump, kind of like a weight land in my stomach in a very healthy way. And I felt complete conviction in the decision. And a lot of times in my life, I was like, should I go this way, or should I work with this person, that person? I don't know. 2019, out on that boat with Megan, I was like, that's it. And the deal is I'm working with you and Ethan. And I just knew, like, you put their two brains together and it just is complete. They just turn each other on. And I told them, my very words to them were, I love you, I trust you, tell me what to do.
Nice.
And that was the whole premise for the project.
It was the right moment for them, for you, like time.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. I mean,
and that's why we call it Cosmico, because the first few months of the process, maybe not even barely months, it might have been like weeks, a few weeks, less than a month. We're just like, the stars absolutely aligned. The fact that we were all available at the same time in the same place out in northern Idaho to even start this thing was a miracle in and of itself. And just things really lined up. It felt like it was meant to be. So the first night after we were writing, they're like, do you have a title? And I just like, I remember I stepped out into the door, I looked out on the lake, and I was like, Cosmico. I didn't even really think about what the word meant. I was like, I just liked the sound of the word. And I was like, oh, that's yeah, okay, of course. There was never another title ever the whole time. It was just from the very beginning.
And it's great. And all the songs are just epic, Cruz. But like something like Flashing Lights, that's an instant classic. And what's most striking to me, and we talked a little bit off camera the other day, it really create a sonic landscape.
It does. Absolutely.
Of records like you choose the Joshua Tree, than the else. Is this an important part? I mean, you're so well traveled. I mean, we talked about your passion for for the Southwest and all that. Is this of your artistry?
I think that makes sense. So for me, like when I first started writing songs, what I would try to do is boil down a feeling, an emotion, something internal, and then express it through a song. Like if I woke up and I felt extra alive and think life was extra vivid, I want to be able to take some of that and share it through art and music so that other people can feel that in a moment, and so that I can feel it every time I perform or every time someone listens to a record. And certainly a big part of that is inspired by my travels. And I think when I perform or like when I sing a song, I have a panoramic like I'm watching a movie, a visual movie when I sing my songs. So I think it makes sense that on the flip side, at this point, the music will have become more cinematic, and having Ethan and Megan working with them, that I think that really unlocked that, because that's their specialty. I love this record because you don't always know what is making the sound. You don't know what instrument or what voice.
Yeah, amazing. Cruz,
Yeah.
The Black Lillies, and also CCStringband. I mean, you've been of projects that have left an indelible mark in music, that have related, many thousands of fans, many hit records. How hard is it? And I'm not a musician, so I'm always being curious about this, but like the courage, and also like the toughness, and kind of the uncertainty of breaking up something, or letting go of something that has like a big, it can't be that easy. How?
It's not.
Yeah.
And I've been through it twice. They are, it's funny. Sometimes people would be specifically with the Black Lillies, like, well, what happened? Why did you quit? Or and I want to be like, playing 2,000 shows and making 5 records over a decade is not quitting. I try to focus on what we did that was positive, and there's a lot.
Oh yeah.
I tried to do that with both bands. However, don't get me wrong, like, the Robinella and the CCStringband, ended because primarily a divorce and a relationship. So that was very complicated and, really tough on multiple people. And certainly with the Black Lillies, anytime, it's your baby, it's like, it's your project. And there is sadness that goes with that ending. And I think as artists, a lot of times we deal with this. Like if you go through a breakup and it hurts, you might just want to walk away from it and forget about it. It might feel like it's too hard to face.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate part with that in music is because part of what we do with music is we make something for lots of people to consume and experience. And I think some of that has happened in years past with certainly Robinella and the CCStringband, where it was kind of like we just left it alone. And so we're trying to do things now. I have a good relationship with Robin. We have a 19-year-old son named Cash. And we're trying to slowly take some steps where we can make that music visible again, and then present our entire story. So if someone sees Robinella's music, or someone sees the Black Lillies, or someone sees Everybody Fields, so they can connect some of these dots. Because from a fan's perspective, that's a fascinating story, because that's what stories are everything. Everything has to have a story. A song has a story, a record, a band, a life. It's how we connect with things. So for us to tell a more complete story will help people engage with our music, and it'll help me go into this next chapter where I'm going to focus on my name.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm trying to make a brand now that's flexible enough. And I feel like if I just put my name out there, I can make different kinds of records. It's easy to get pigeonholed if a certain percentage of your fans love a certain sound or certain record or certain lineup, there you are, you kind of get stuck in that a little bit. But you can be, or you got to deal with it. So, anyways, I forget exactly what we were saying there, but it's very much in my mindset now to make those brands healthy and make the music and keep the music available, and then kind of connect the dots between Robinella and the CCStringband, the Black Lillies, and whatever I'm making now under my name. And yeah.
Well said, Cruz. Yeah. Well, Cruz, you have a lot to do. I don't want to take too much of your time, so let me leave.
Yeah.
And you also sang a lot last week, and I don't want to take over your voice.
Okay. But, that's totally up to you. Molly would mention a song. I have my guitar over here if you'd like me to do something. I'm fine with that.
That would be great. But let me ask you about your family, and then we'll finish off with that. And I appreciate that very much, Cruz. I had the chance of meeting your wonderful wife, and kind of like the operation that you have going on now. It's like a family, the Cruz Contreras family affair. And my brother from another mother, Andrew Lake, he told me about it too. But share with us very quickly, if you don't mind, just like this beautiful new chapter of kind of like spreading your love and your art, and you also have that side of family. Man, you got
Yeah.
the best of all worlds.
It's really wonderful. You know, definitely it was the silver lining of the pandemic. The band ended in 2019, and I thought I was getting ready to release Cosmico, and then the pandemic happened, and everything changed in everybody's lives. But it gave me the opportunity to meet Molly and us to nurture our relationship and start a family. And in 2020, you know, initially I was doing live streams, and then we started doing socially distanced yard parties, and there was this continual process of adapting. How do I make a living and continue through all this? So her and I were able to learn together, and we sang songs together, and she learned how to set up the sound, and she learned about the business, and we both helped each other. So it's a challenge. It's a lot on our plate because, you know, just having a family and a home, that's a full-time job. So we're stretched a little thin, but I'm very grateful to her. She has helped me get to this point, especially with the release of the new record. And I think we definitely, our hope would be that we can start delegating, you know, whether it's building a record company or if it's just our own operation, you know, kind of building the team.
Right on.
Yeah. But starting with that really good, important core, whether it's family, working with people with integrity, and just, it's very important to me, building a good foundation here.
Definitely. And we're very, very grateful that you're kind of like sharing those important values. So thank you, Cruz. If you don't mind taking us away with me.
Yeah, let me go grab my guitar real quick.
That was good. Cruz, could I give you any guitar and you would make it sound good? Like, could I go to like Goodwill and just kind of get a $40 guitar, give it to Cruz Contreras, and you would make something good out of that?
I don't know. Well, I'd like to say something good in general, maybe from a singer-songwriter perspective or a producer perspective. As far as a guitar player, there's great guitar players out there that can make anything sound good. And I've seen that. When I was a kid, I was over at my neighbor's house and friend's house, and I don't know if you're familiar with the violinist, guitarist Mark O'Connor. If not, check him out. In fact, he's probably on Strength in Numbers, right? Of course he is.
Yeah.
He's the fiddle player on there.
Okay.
Anyways, he was over at my friend's house, and they had just this old beat up guitar that, I mean, it looks like it's been run over, shouldn't play anything. And he picked it up and he absolutely shredded this guitar. And from that day, I was like, it's not the guitar. It's the player. It helps to have a nice instrument, but yeah. Follow me back here?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. All right, I'm going to play the final track from Cosmico.
All right,
that has no end. I've been listening to the rhythm of my own drum back since day one. Try to keep time like everyone. Got my own way looking at the world. It ain't a big deal. Everyone wonders how they should feel. Was told there ain't no use in fitting in. Now I believe them. Played a game not meant to win. Looking at the mountains, I see hills to climb. Let's take our time. Just beyond the clouds, there is sunlight. Let's take that ride. Traveling the road that has no end. I guess I've never been one for the easy way. I could not stay. Know that I loved you then, like I love you today. Been
searching for the answer since I was young that can be undone. The only way to learn was to be burned. Looking at the mountains, I see hills to climb. Let's take our time. Just beyond the clouds, there is sunlight. Let's take that ride. Traveling the road that has no end. La da da dee, la da dee da, la da da dee da da, la da da dee, la da dee da, la da da dee da da. Someday you'll look back and wonder, who did you serve? Did they deserve? Then you look back and you realize every step led to where you were. Looking at the mountains, I see hills to climb. Let's take our time. Just beyond the clouds, there is sunlight. Let's take that ride. Traveling the road that has no end. Traveling the road that has no end. Traveling the road that has no end.
Cruz Contreras, my chills have chills. Thank you so much, man.
Thank
you
you,
for
man.
that. I appreciate the
Thank you.
time, and thank you for Cosmico and everything you represent, Cruz.
Appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time. It's very nice meeting you in Nashville. We'll see you again.
Yes, I'm sure we will. Take care.
Okay, stay in touch. Have a great day.